What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Clover Trading YouTube channel. My name is Dom, and today we're going to be going in depth into my trading goals and plans as we approach the end of the year. But before we get to that, if you haven't already, make sure that you're hitting that thumbs up button, you're subscribed to the channel, and make sure to have that little notification bell turned on so you don't miss any future videos from us. We also are live right here on YouTube every single day, Monday through Friday. I run Good Morning NASDAQ with Huddy, another Clover, at 8:45 a.m. every single day of the week. And then we're right here at 7 p.m. Eastern for Wine Wednesday every single Wednesday as well. So make sure you have that notification bell turned on so you get notified every time that we go live. Let's kick this off by kind of just taking a look at the year we've had so far before we get into my plans for the end of the year, how I'm going to go about trying to right the ship, what I've been doing recently to try to do that, what I kind of think a lot of my issues this year have stemmed from, because this has really been a growth year for me. 2022 was a wake-up call as well. The market shifted a lot, but because I was able to adapt and add on some new strategies, the blemishes and the bad habits didn't really show themselves because it still was a really nice six-figure year. But this year has kind of been an extension 2022. I feel like market-wise, we've gotten a lot of the similar cycles where sector momentum doesn't last that long. If you do get hot runners in spurts, you must execute and do really well on them, because then for the following 2 weeks after those plays, everything dries up, liquidity is gone, and there's no real volatility or range to play. It's been very tricky to get momentum in the last 2 years. And if you're not mentally there and you don't have the confidence and conviction to, execute the trades in a proper manner every single time with the right size and the right risk management, like me, you've probably struggled a lot over the last year or so. And all of that mixed with some really big losses that are uncharacteristic for me lead to a really subpar performance. And, this year so far, it's looking like it's about $6,000 after all fees this far in October of 2023. Started the year off quite strong, 75K month and a 31K month, but then the wheels kind of fell off. I took a lot of bad trades, oversized on a lot of situations. March statistically for me is one of my worst months. It's usually where the market cools off after a pretty hot winter, and I apparently have not learned that lesson. Then in April, took a giant loss on TOP, which is outlined here on the channel as well, all the Clover's responses to that TOP trade. And then since then, it's really just been chopping around, trying various different techniques to get myself out of my slump. You also have a mixture of summer trading in a slow year, so definitely slow in the summer as well. Kinfo does a really good job of kind of characterizing this and showing you your performance on a week to week, a month to month, and even look at the calendar here and go through every single day your performance and how you are doing. Big adjustment for me the last few months before we get into the goals for the end of the year has just been to slow it down, like really trying to think that less is more. I was trying to do so much over the last year and going back into 2022 that it was, starting to hurt me, because like I said, the market we've seen the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been very cyclical. And the fact that you get a week or two of good plays, you get some runners, and I get to, trade the life cycle of penny stock. I get multi-day breakouts. I get first red days. I get first green days. But the second that those runners die and come back down to earth, we have seen a week or two or three of just nothing. And if you are not disciplined enough and patient enough at those times, if you trade like I do, where you're looking for A+ quality type of trades, big picture daily charts in small cap land, they just aren't consistently showing up. And if you aren't patient enough to wait for those times and execute properly, having the right mindset going into every one of those trades, it's probably been a rough year. And it definitely has for me, because and we'll talk about it here in the next slide, but having no confidence in yourself, this has not been a good market for that, because then you'll lack the conviction to actually take the trades when it matters. And I've done a really poor job of that this year. So what I've tried to do towards the end of the summer, going into the fall here, has just been to trade significantly less. July was a really nice month for me. You can see how many days I took off in July, because I just kind of had it and my mindset was I'm going to size down. And I've been doing that the last few months just to make the numbers smaller. Instead of, trading with the same size, risking a few thousand per trade to try to get back on the year, to try to show something for the year and, and have those big, 5-figure, 6-figure trades. What it's been doing when I've been lacking the confidence, the conviction, is just making the red worse, making the weeks worse, making the months worse, and just making me, lack more and more confidence. So something that I find really helpful when you're struggling to get on track, when you're struggling over the course of a long period of time, you just can't get it together, is sizing down, is taking fewer trades, is just separating yourself from this feeling of losing and losing and losing and making, that feeling worse by losing a lot of money or, real money. If you go back to June, which was a pretty bloody month, a lot more red days than green days, and the numbers are just, they start to hurt. Like, look at this week, negative 5K, negative 7K, negative 3K. Like, in the moment, if those are just one or two decent trades that you take and that you lost on, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're struggling mentally and you're not doing well in the year and you're not reaching your goals, that adds up to like, a 15K red week, which is real money. And that really hurts. And that's really hard to get back when you're not trading well. So going to July, I really slowed everything down, said we're either going to be small red, small green. When the opportunity comes, gonna nail it, and I'm not gonna dig myself into a hole to the point where I'm afraid to click the buttons because I don't want to lose more every time a setup comes around. This is a really phenomenal month for me, and it showed me that you can have really good months. This is over a 20K month, taking fewer trades, not risking that much, and just waiting for A+ setups to show themselves. Over the last few months, you're talking, I think, just a couple grand in profits, but what it's really done for me is desensitize me to the money again. Trading so much smaller, not having significant red days, it doesn't hurt the psyche as much, and it allows you to show up the next day without as much fear, without as much anxiety, without as much frustration, and it allows you to focus on your job versus on your P&L, which sometimes can be really demoralizing and can affect you in a real negative way. So my goal the last few months has really just been to size down significantly to the point where I'm not afraid to take a trade. I don't care about the money. And even if I lose 5 times in a row, it's not going to be a big, horrible, bloody red day. And just trying to sit back and wait, with my style, and this has pretty much shown itself over the course of my entire career. My style is, wait for a few months of really good price action, of lots of runners where everything's going through the life cycle of the penny stock, nail it, exponentially grow my accounts, and then sit back and wait for the next one. Because of some of the big losses I've taken over the last year, I've dug myself into a hole where I feel like every week, month, or quarter or 6 months, I have to get that money back and more to reach my goals, and even when the market's not there. And so because of that, it's this horrible negative spiral of I don't have the confidence, I don't have the conviction, and the plays aren't there, but I'm in a hole and I need to force. And that's a really bad recipe in the stock market, especially with the system that I trade. And it really all just stems from big losses that it isn't realistic for me to make that money back in a short period of time with the market the way it has been. And that can sometimes snowball and piggy back into making a lot more mistakes. So let's kind of talk about going into the end of the year. My trading goals, the first one is focus on the habits. The process shapes you before it rewards you. And I think this is something that I had to really understand in the first 10 months of my career as well, when I was just trying to figure it out, trying to get profitable for the first time, is realizing that becoming a trader isn't like anything else, where you see results as you grow. As the more time you put in, you get more out of it, and eventually, you go exponential and things work out. With trading, it literally is shaping you in a way that you can't even explain. For me, it was 10 months of losing money and losing money and losing money. And my biggest red month of that entire 10 months was the last month before I got profitable. It is very counterintuitive. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just realizing that you can be growing, you can be learning, you can be getting better, and without any of the reward right now. And so for me, it's focus on the habits. The habits is why the last year and a half has been so hard for me. It's because of that snowball effect I was just talking about, where if you make enough mistakes in a row, it's very difficult to necessarily pinpoint exactly which one it is that's causing a lot of the issues. But it also, there are so many different culprits for the problem that any one, excessive mistake on that mistake throws the whole entire process off. And in a market we've had in the last year and a half, that can be so detrimental. And over the last year and a half, I've made too many mistakes, in terms of sizing, risk management, play selection. I'm not executing when the plays are there because I'm screwing up when the plays aren't there. I'm sizing in too big when the trades aren't showing themselves and I'm forcing, but I'm not taking that same size on the A pluses when they finally show up because I'm in a hole from forcing the trades that weren't optimal. Risk management is something that I prided myself on for years. And over the last couple of years, as my accounts have grown, as I've grown as a trader, as I've added more into my arsenal, it's been very difficult for me to manage risk because, the whole reason I had a really good 2022 was because shorting these Chinese pumps, it was very hard not to be reckless. And eventually, this year it came back to bite bite me. And taking that massive size with no real plan for where I'm cutting or risk management, it set me back quite a bit this year. And, play selection. It's just everything we've talked about already is just, understanding the cyclicalness of the market where you have to be ready to execute when the time is right. And that means sitting back and waiting for the best of the best, doing what I did in July of this year. No confidence, no conviction, something we've talked about a lot so far. Really hard to trade well if you're not confident in yourself. And to build that confidence, you build good habits. And by, eventually those habits, we reap the rewards from those good habits. And once you start to size up again, the market starts to show itself, you tend to do really, really well, because it's not that you got lucky or that the market is just infinitely better. It's because you are doing the same thing you were doing the entire time, which is having good habits. And over the last few months, I feel like I've been, even though I'm not making a lot of money, I'm not losing a lot of money either, I'm trying to build good habits for the next run of myself, which is, when I start to catch fire, when all that confidence, conviction comes back. And laziness. It's been a habit of mine over the last year and a half, is just laziness has been all over the place. I've gotten really interested in other habits, other hobbies, hunting, fishing, golfing, all these other things where it was like, okay, I'm gonna leave at 2 p.m. Nothing's really happening, and I'll check back in later. Then I don't check in later, and then I show up to the market the next day and I'm behind because I didn't see something ran after hours or some theme was moving. And at the end of the day, it just has to do with, one of the next points coming up is like not being in sync with the market. If you're in and out of the market constantly, not really paying attention to it, it's really hard to be able to adapt on the fly. Like you've been able to see, Kellogg do really well over the last 2 years, and Kyle do really well over the last few years. So, the next point here is dedicate my life to trading again. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And as I've gotten casual and lazy in my approach, I've seen a lot of issues pop up from the habits that we talked about. And so some of the things that I want to do is just take trading really seriously, making my nightly watch list every single night, sitting down, going through everything that ran, going through the after hours, going through the news, everything I do on Good Morning NASDAQ, scanning during the day, making sure I'm up to date with the tickers that are moving, making sure my watch list is narrowed down and focused on the right stocks, stat tracking, pattern performance, making sure I have an up-to-date understanding of how my patterns are performing, being in sync with the market, give myself the ability to adapt on the fly by being there every second, making sure that I'm there every morning for Good Morning NASDAQ, going through the runners with you guys, understanding what the theme is, low price stocks, marijuana stocks, Bitcoin, oil, whatever it is, understanding the correlations between the global news and what we're seeing in small cap, understanding where the overall market is and how the overall market is trending and how that could affect my niche, understanding on a day-to-day basis where we're at, our shorts in control, our longs in control, and people are chasing and shorts are getting squeezed. These are all things that I've gotten really casual on that, again, that snowball effect where these little mistakes, this game, the margin for error is so small. So all these little things I'm talking about are really obvious, but you don't necessarily see them until the whole thing kind of goes up in flames. And it's because every single little one of those is a very important piece to the entire puzzle. And having, multiple parts of that puzzle missing can affect you in a negative way pretty significantly. And the last thing is really not to focus on the money. Green or red this year is, to me, so irrelevant at this point. Yeah, it'd be nice to go on a crazy run and have some insane October, November, and December and end up posting a really nice green year. But at this point, I don't care about that because that's not what this last year has been for me. I talked about it being a growth year, and it's really hard not to focus on the money. That's something I teach every single day, which you have to separate yourself from that money and just focus on the process, because eventually the process will pay for itself, in heaps and bounds. And it's really hard to do when you're losing. It's really hard to do when you have big losses that you're staring at and going, oh my gosh, I'm trying to risk $1,000 to make $5 on a really good trade and do that consistently, but I just lost 70 grand the other day. It's going to take me months and months and months to get back on track, especially with the market we have right now. And I get that. But the only way kind of out of that is the same way we got profitable in the first place, which is focusing on the process, not on the money. And to me, getting mentally prepared for the next big sector, for the next hot market, for the next slew of runners is the most important thing for me. And knowing that when I go into that, I do what I do best, which is show up, execute to the best of my ability. When the plays are there, liquidity is there, the volatility is there, the range is there, all the players are there, when everything makes a lot of sense, and just absolutely nailing it and feeling good about myself, and then taking that momentum and using that to form more discipline, more patience to wait for the next one. And so that really is my goal at this point, is to focus on what got me here in the first place, which is the little things, which is the habits, and understanding and realizing how important those are to my success or failure. And for me, whatever this year is, green, red, it's either going to be small red, small green, or I guess big green, because I won't allow any more disaster. I won't be putting myself in any of those situations. I just really want to learn a lot from this year year and not let this year go to waste, and not just sit back and play the victim and say, I struggled because the market, because the Chinese pumper squeezed me, whatever it is. I want to learn from this and take away from this so that way in 5 years from now, I look back and go, that was a great year for me because look where it got me. Look at what it taught me. I look at what I was able to learn from that and how 2024 was able to be my best year ever, or whatever it is. And, so these are kind of my bullet points. You'll notice there's no dollar amount. There's no specific, rules for a specific trading. It's just really getting back to what got me here in the first place and, focusing on the habits, the little things, and letting those little things get me back on track and hopefully finish this year really strong, which I think I will. But I just want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out if you're still here. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Let us know, how is your year going? Are you getting better? Are you getting smarter? Are you educating yourself? Are you hitting new highs on the profit chart? Or are you struggling to stay consistently profitable? Let us know. Always love hearing from you guys. But as always, stay classy, and we'll see you in the next one.